If the technical definition is 2 quarters of contraction, you're saying that's not a recession?
That's not the
No?
That's not the technical definition.
Is the White House trying to change the common definition of a recession because next Thursday the GDP numbers coming out are going to show that we've been in a recession?
So let me say this, the strength of our labor market along with the other economic factors is what we generally see in a recession, or even is not what we generally see in a recession or even a pre-recession, because we're seeing the strength of the economy and the labor market. So that's really important to note there, because those are key elements as we talk about that, as folks keep asking us about that. So Americans across the country are back to work at a historic level. 21 states, the most in history, have unemployment rates at or below 3%. That is an important number to note. 14 states are now at their lowest unemployment rates since this series began in 1976. And last month, the unemployment rate was a new low in 8 states. So again, the strength of our labor market, along with the economic indicators, is not what we generally see as we talk about recession or even pre-recession.
2 quarters of negative growth in a row, that's a recession.
Right, and certainly in terms of the technical definition, it's not a recession. The technical definition considers a much broader spectrum of data points. But in practical terms, what matters to the American people is whether they have a little economic breathing room, they have more job opportunities, their wages are going up. That has been Joe Biden's focus since coming into office.
A common definition of recession is 2 negative quarters of GDP growth, or at least that's something that's been true in past recessions. When we've seen that, there has usually been a recession. And many economists expect second quarter GDP to be negative. First quarter GDP was negative. So we could see that happen, and that will be closely watched. But I do want to emphasize what a recession really means is a broad-based contraction in the economy. And even if that number is negative, we are not in a recession now.
If the technical definition is 2 quarters of contraction, you're saying that's not a recession?
That's not the
No?
That's not the technical definition. I would be amazed if the NBER would declare this period to be a recession, even if it happens to have 2 quarters of negative growth.
I covered the economy for many years. I was told by everybody I spoke to that 2 negative quarters, 2 contracting quarters, means that the economy is in a recession. Do you believe that? Is that what you ascribe to?
That is not the actual definition of a recession. It is a significant contractionary period over a few months where those who make that determination look at a lot of different factors, particularly the jobs market.
So if it is negative, are you going to argue that you're going to still argue that we're not in a recession, even if we get another quarter of negative growth? Is that what we can expect based on the things that you just all laid out for us?
Yes, I would think that I agree, obviously, with Secretary Yellen that I don't think there's any view that would interpret this second quarter or these 6 months as being recessionary with that level of job growth.
We were all told that the inflation was going to be transitory by these same individuals, by all of you. So that does make people wary to listen again. Well, and you've got 64% of the American public who already thinks they're in a recession based on their own personal experience when they see how difficult it is for them to, buy the things that they need to buy.
Technically, a way to define a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of declining GDP numbers. If that happens next week, if those numbers come out and reflect that, will the White House view this country as being in a recession?
The official business cycle dating committee, they're the ones who declare a recession, not the White House. And they do it after the fact because the data come in months and quarters later. So what we will do is we will look at the data that the Business Cycle Dating Committee uses, retail sales, consumer spending, payroll employment, industrial production. We'll look at every one of those variables and tell you where they've gone. In the first half of the year, they look to us and to most other economists inconsistent with recession. But that's the first half. We'll have to see where the second half goes from here.
I'm old enough to remember when you had 2 back-to-back consecutive quarters of negative growth. That was a recession. On Thursday, we're going to get a number. We're probably going to be in a recession, down a point or so in gross domestic product.